We're racing across the world with one goal, to win the league in as many countries as fast as we can. There's only a single rule: when it's time to switch nations, I can only move to clubs within 250 kilometers of another club I have already beaten. It might sound far, but this journey will take us over 4,000 kilometers through 8 countries and in 3 leagues that I've never managed in before. We began in Azerbaijan and now we're starting to move our way through Europe, including today's adventure in Turkey, before finally ending our trip in the Premier League. It's the ultimate journeyman save, and we'll be trying to learn as much as we can about every nation, city and club we interact with, so sit back, grab some baklava and let's try to topple Istanbul. We've not actually mentioned where Neil Warnock is going to be heading for today's episode though. We had offers from Rizespor and Erzurumspor, but we're moving to the Black Sea coast in the north of Turkey. Trabzon, which is probably most well known for being one of the last Greek-owned cities in Anatolia, was also the hometown of Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent. It's also home to 7-time Turkish champions Trabzonspor. They last won the title in 2022, but this team has been fighting for 3 Istanbul giants for decades. We've got our team. Just like we had in Azerbaijan, we've got 2 routes we can leave Turkey from. We'll have to beat the newly promoted Göztepe, whose strategic position on the coast allows us to move to either Athens, Crete or Thessalonica next season. If we go via Athens, we get access to 2 of Greece's most famous sides, Olympiakos and Panathinaikos. Alternatively, we can go for Crete, but this path results in us having to move to a lower quality OFI Crete, which will need a total rebuild before they're ready to actually win the Greek league. We've got a lot of big games coming up this season. The away match at Göztepe is going to be crucial for leaving the country, as we just mentioned, but we'll also need to beat the reigning champions Fenerbahce home and away to make sure we get this title. Besiktas, Galatasaray and Başakşehir are also going to be massive games this season. I've got no real idea who's in my squad, but at least I've heard of most of these players. How perfect would it be for someone like Nicola Pepe or Thomas Meunier to become a Trabzonspor legend? I know at least one of these players is going to become a hero, so let's find out who. Just like with every save, the first few weeks are all about learning about what your squad has. We have a way bigger budget than we had back in Azerbaijan, but our team isn't quite ready to compete with Fenerbahce. We want a little bit of pace and a little bit of height up front, and our scouts have found us just the men. As every single other team in the league starts to strengthen, we decide to splurge most of our budget on the giant striker Alexander Sorloth, the rapid winger Emmanuel Dennis, and the goal-scoring left-back Luka Digne. With our deals finished, it was time for Warnock to manage his first ever game in the Turkish Super League. Our first game was absolutely huge because we would be hosting Galatasaray, who were also going for the title. We'd be facing all 3 of the Istanbul teams in our first 6 matches. Galatasaray have 23 league titles, we have 7, but Taxiarchis Fountas has his first ever goal for Trabzonspor. It was so important to get ahead early on, and I'm glad we did it. Fountas running from midfield, the flares in the crowd, the fans going absolutely crazy. What an important first goal of the season that could be. But then we've made a massive mistake and we're bailed out by the goalkeeper. Conceding a goal like that would have absolutely killed us in the eyes of the fans. Instead, we're going to do another mistake, this time Davinson Sanchez, the former Spurs centre-back, dribbling around Thomas Meunier before Icardi's penalty gets saved. This match really does have it all, and our goalkeeper is on absolute fire. Good interception that from Fountas, puts someone on the floor as well from Mendy. Zaha will lay it off to Tete, and in front of our home fans, he smashed one in the same top corner we scored in earlier. Dennis on his debut has the chance to absolutely erupt the stadium, and he does exactly that. A really nice finish, tried to put the goalkeeper down with a fake shot, and you can see the fans in the background there loving every single minute of this. Zaniolo will get the cross in, Demirbay will do an ambitious control, it'll fall back to him. Trabzonspor just couldn't clear the ball, and Demirbay makes it 2-2. Dennis on the turn gives it to Bardi, and Visca, our captain, gets his shot saved this time by Muslera, the long-standing Galatasaray goalkeeper. With both goalkeepers on absolute top form in this game, I guess a draw is a fair result on the opening day, but we need to improve if we want to win this league. After our opening day draw at Galatasaray, we faced Pendikspor in our second game, a team that was probably going to finish last. It was an easy win, and we were already on a little bit of a roll. If any team was going to stop that though, it was going to be Fenerbahce. In this fixture 2 years ago, our fans actually stormed onto the pitch and attacked players. Those fans have now been banned, and this fixture won't have any of that, but of course it is going to be still a massive rivalry game, so anything could happen on the pitch. Ever since these two teams played for the first time back in 1976, things have got more and more intense, and it's almost at the level now where it's as intense as some of the Istanbul derbies. It's been a title deciding match in a number of seasons. The fans are absolutely crazy on both sides, and we need to be doing much better with our chances than that from Emmanuel Dennis. When we signed him, we didn't really look at his finishing stat, and we can see why he's only rated 74 despite being so highly rated in other areas. Lucadinho was mainly signed because of his free kick abilities, and we're going to try and score at least a couple of them this season, but it's not going to happen if he keeps hitting them like that. Soloth, on the other hand, knows exactly how to hit a ball. Look at that, he even gets the ricochet off the post for the second celebration. 1-0 up against Fenerbahce, and it was actually quite a satisfying goal to score. Nice little finesse shot, chipping it over the goalkeeper's stretched right arm. Sloppy defending, sure, from Fenerbahce, but crucial and ruthless finishing from Trabzonspor. Visca would get the ball out wide, and Emmanuel Dennis is known for his jumping. He might not be known for his finishing as we saw earlier, but he should be scoring that one. This time he does get the finish right, but he doesn't get his movement off the ball right. We thought we were 2-0 up, but the referee had his flag up. He was offside. This season we've gone with the classic Neil Warnock 4-4-2, and Soloth as the target man is working absolute wonders. He scores yet again, a nice volley there with his left foot, and his return to Trabzonspor is looking like an absolutely amazing deal. I did think that getting Dennis for £4.5 million was surprisingly cheap, and it turns out he just can't stay on side. We're going to need to work on that aspect of his game. If there's one manager you want that can improve a limited striker, it is Neil Warnock. Remember Andy Gray, Paul Pesci-Salido, Luciano Becchio. Warnock got them all firing in goals, and he's going to do exactly the same to Emmanuel Dennis. I can feel it. Somehow, even with one of the hardest starts imaginable, we were still joint first after the first 7 games. I wasn't really expecting Konyaspor to be the team that we were level with in first, but we did have a chance to fix that. We'd be making the 700-kilometre trip to have a chance of finally breaking free and claiming the top spot for our own. Of course, no league titles are won after 11 games, and Konyaspor have played most of the bottom 8 in their first 11. I think Neil Warnock had gone back to the 2006-07 Sheffield United season for inspiration of this tactic, because it seemed like Rob Hulse from back then was very similar to how Alexander Soloth is playing for us. He's getting into the middle, we're getting wingers out wide, and we're getting chances from that. You can see right there our 2 wingers linking up. Visca with a very ambitious header, to be fair, but on another day that might have looped over the goalkeeper and into the back of the net. Nicola Pepe was another important part on the left wing, but here is Soloth, and his finishing let him down the first time, but the second time it was exactly what we needed. We were ahead against Konyaspor and officially in first place in the league. Yet again, we got our wingers involved, we got our target man involved, and despite being quite short, Emmanuel Dennis does have the skills of a target man himself. He's got a bit more pace, and you can see a bit of his flair showing off right there, but it was the epitome of what Neil Warnock was trying to do this season. Get it down the wings to the fast lads, give it to the target man in the middle, and then hope that your little target man in the middle can find the back of the net. Great goalkeeping right there to keep it 2-0. We want to get our clean sheet, and we do exactly that. With our biggest 3 games out of the way this early in the season, the only other important game was in January. Before that though, we were on a really good run. We beat Boluspor, Sivasspor and Ankara Gücü in a row, but then it was time. We would have to beat the newly promoted Göztepe because they were going to be key for us escaping Turkey. We're not in Azerbaijan anymore, so we don't get 2 chances a season to beat them. If we don't beat them today, we're in Turkey for a full 2nd season. Normally that sounds like it would be a lot of pressure, but for Neil Warnock, he does not mind pressure. His team talk was especially fiery, and you can see how much Soloth was inspired by it. A nice half volley only finding the post, and really Trabzonspor could be 1 or 2-0 up at this point in the game. Göztepe were way more physical than we were expecting, so when Funtas held off their centre-back to go 1-on-1, it did feel like the players were feeling the pressure a little bit more than Neil Warnock. Sometimes it's not actually a player that changes the match, sometimes it's the referee, and when he decided to give a 2nd yellow card to this Göztepe player, we knew things were firmly on our side for the last 20 minutes of the game. With a big hole in their central midfield, Emmanuel Dennis would play a brilliant ball through to Bardi. Bardi would try and dribble around Sir Best. He would do it. In the middle he had Soloth, and with a volley into the ground over the goalkeeper, finally Trabzonspor had the lead. It was a really nice finish. Really appreciate the toe poke into the ground over the goalkeeper. We would kill the game off for the rest of the match, and that would be it. We would have a win. After the relief of getting a route out of the country, the very next game was away at Besiktas. This rivalry isn't quite as intense as the one we have with Fenerbahce, but there's no real friendly games in Turkey. We have the better form, but they have the slightly better squad, so we knew we had a pretty solid chance. Because we're in January though, we can actually make the squad even better, with Kamil Petakowski joining us for well below his true value. He'd be making his debut in this massive game. The amount of money that the Istanbul capital city clubs have over the backwaters like Trabzonspor means that getting a bargain is even more important for us, and I think we have one because he was an absolute rock at the back in this match. If he can perform even half as well as Solot and Dennis have in the first half of the season, then we have got an absolute bargain because they've been insane since we brought them in. They were going to be crucial in this one, but they both missed chances in the first half, meaning the second half was all to play for between Besiktas and Trabzonspor. Abubakar came on off their bench and he nearly assisted a goal there in the 72nd minute. And to be honest, as soon as he came on, it totally changed the game. He's a proper Neil Warnock style striker, and while he wasn't directly involved in the goal, his presence was causing us a lot of issues at the back. We've actually been pretty good at attacking this season, but we could not get past Omar Colley. If we were going to score, we needed something special. Besiktas playing it out from the back as they have done for the majority of the game. We nearly intercept the pass, but Colley makes his first mistake and it's blasting it past his own goalkeeper. It's an own goal. I don't know why Solot's celebrating, but I know Neil Warnock will be, and I know all of the fans will be, because this point could be massive come the end of the season. Last year we won the league by a single point, and it's looking like it could be just as close this year. So if we can defend this corner, we have got a crucial point against one of the hardest away days that you can possibly have in Turkey. While a lot of teams are nowhere near helping us in our quest, one interesting location in Turkey is Gaziantep. We're the most southern team in the league. They would be in a position that let us move to Syria, Lebanon, northern Israel and Cyprus if these were actually options in the game. Sadly for us, these countries are kind of useless for getting closer to Britain, so this was just another match against a much worse opponent. The season was starting to come to an end. Just like how we started with 3 tough games in our first 6, we were ending with 3 tough games in our last 4. None were going to be tougher than Fenerbahce, who've recovered from a pretty awful start to be right alongside us in 2nd place. Simply put, if we lose this game, we might lose the league. It was that big of a deal. There was no need to send scouts to watch Fenerbahce games. There was no need to actually change our formation. We just had to keep doing what we were doing and hope we maybe got a little bit lucky. I think luck is the best way to describe the first 10 minutes of this game. To start off with, Fenerbahce chipped one over the bar when they were 1-on-1. They dominated the ball, they got another chance. What a brilliant save that is to keep it 0-0. And they got a corner just a few seconds later. They would pass it around again. They were absolutely amazing at their build-up play. It would come to Fred and he would hit the post. I'll be honest, Warnock was not happy, and this was about the first time we actually got the ball into the opponent's half. Emmanuel Dennis, he had Solot making a run through the middle, but he hit it himself, and it didn't quite fall to Solot. We would get the rebound, but we were shooting from such a ridiculous angle that was never going to go in the back of the net. Despite giving up a lot of chances, we were actually pretty sound at the back until Fenerbahce would smash one straight past our goalkeeper. Nothing we could do about that. Cengiz Under opening the scoring. Fenerbahce would try and be a bit too ambitious with their playing out the back, and they would just pass it straight to Solot. It was a very lucky pass that to go into Pepe. They closed down the angle for Solot, but we'd already pressed pass, and somehow, out of absolutely nowhere, we tackle it off their defender, and we get the equaliser. I cannot say we deserve this goal. Everything else in the game was Fenerbahce except that one Dennis chance. While there hasn't been quite as much tension as there was in that game where we were fighting on the pitch, we were still fighting for every single ball. That was brilliant defending there from Piatkowski. You see how much it means to this team. That's the kind of team spirit Neil Warnock brings to sides. Fenerbahce knew they really wanted to win this game, because if they did, they would go 4 points clear at the top of the Turkish league. But we kept pushing on as well. Viska making his way into the box, gets the cross in, and before we can even head it, the referee blows his whistle. I thought this could be a free kick on the edge of the box, but somehow we have got the most tame penalty I think I have ever seen. Of course, we're not going to complain. We've got the captain stepping up to take it. Can Viska score? He's not the best penalty taker, but that is unsavable. Straight in the top corner. We have the lead, 2-0, and we really do not deserve this at all. We got the lucky first goal. We got the most dodgy penalty to make it 2-0. I'm not going to say it's corruption, but honestly, I would be very annoyed if I was a Fenerbahce fan watching this match back. They're going to keep attacking, of course. They have a lot of players that are relentless in their playstyle, one of which was Fred. He passes it to Under. He runs into the box. Another absolutely amazing save. Trabzonspor fans and players all celebrating that like it was a goal. And they might be celebrating another goal here because Funtas has robbed Fred and he's run the entire length of the pitch, gone around the goalkeeper, and it hits the defender. It's 3-0, 3 very undeserved goals, but 3 goals we are absolutely going to take. We just kick the ball away. We just want to keep the ball. We're not going to give up our clean sheet. We want the final whistle. And when it finally comes, we confirm we get 3 goals, we get 3 points, and we also go clear at the top of the Turkish Super League. No wonder we're celebrating. We've got 3 matches left this season, and it's entirely possible that we are going to win the league, first try in Azerbaijan and first try in Turkey. Despite beating Fenerbahce, we still hadn't won anything yet. We had 3 more banana skins left. First was Adana Demirspor, who we beat. Next was Konyaspor again, visiting our home ground, which we drew, which meant we knew a win would win us the title in our last match. We just about scraped past the already relegated Pendikspor, and Trabzonspor had done it. For the 8th time, we were Turkish champions, and we also had the perfect route to Greece lined up for our next episode. But that's where I need your help. Where would you go? Would you go to Crete and manage OFI Crete? Would you go to Olympiakos and manage one of the biggest teams in Greece? Or would you go to somewhere like Panathinaikos or AEK and try and topple the reigning champions? If you head over to my Instagram, I'll put a poll up when this video goes public to everyone rather than just channel members, and you can vote where you would go if you were in my shoes. But thank you for watching. Really do appreciate the support. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're watching this one is public rather than a member video, then if you become a member, you can watch next week's video right now. It costs about 99p a month or something, and it really helps support the channel, so do consider it if you are able to do so. But if not, I'll see you next week where we'll be taking on Greece and hopefully winning another title.